morning, welcome back to my channel. My name is Charlotte and this is Charlotteshelves. I try to upload fortnightly bookish related content for you, and today I am so delighted to bring you a giant birthday book haul. For my birthday this year, I predominantly asked for books, and my friends and family very kindly met those wishes. If I had to guess, I would say I think there's about 20 books that I was given this year, which is phenomenal and stupidly, crazily generous of my friends and family. But I just wanted to share them with you because there are so many good reads, and there are so many that I have been waiting a really long time for and haven't yet purchased for myself, so to receive them as gifts makes them that extra bit special. I was also really lucky to receive a number of bookish themed and sort of book geeky related gifts that sort of accompany some of the books that I've received this year, so I thought I would also share those with you at the end of the video, but I think we will start with the books. I'm going to start with the sort of thrillers, and there's one or two horrors on this stack, so I've got, how many is that? 3, 4, 5 to share with you. The first is a thriller called Drowning by TJ Newman. You may have seen the predecessor to this, which is Falling, which was a huge action thriller that came out I think maybe 3 years ago. I only read it last month and I was obsessed, and she's written 2 other books, and this is meant to be super fast paced. The previous book of hers that I had read was one of the most fast-paced thrillers that I have ever consumed. I could not put it down, and I don't use that phrase very often to describe thrillers. TJ Newman is a former air hostess, and that kind of informs her subject matter because her thrillers are set on planes. So in Falling, there was a terrorist incident on an aircraft and the people are trying to survive. And in Drowning, I believe it says that this is a plane that then crashes into the sea and then people have to survive that. And as someone with an acute fear of flying, these absolutely tap into those anxieties about travel sometimes. This one says that this plane sinks to the bottom of the ocean with the passengers trapped inside. And with more than 200 feet below the surface, engineer Will Kent and his 11-year-old daughter Shannon are waist deep in water and fighting for their lives. That sounds terrifying. The tagline for this says, "There is not much time, there is even less air." With devastating emotional power and heart-stopping suspense, Drowning is an unforgettable thriller about a family's desperate fight to save themselves and the people trapped with them against impossible odds. The next thriller I have is another John Grisham. This is Camino Ghosts. This is the third book in a trilogy, Camino Islands and Camino Winds. These are slightly different legal thrillers by Grisham, and I can't wait to pick this up. This is one that is going to go to the top of my TBR. I love this kind of spin-off series with this set of characters that he's created. The first book pulled me in because it was a thriller set around the theft of a set of rare books or manuscripts, and it was a lot about the publishing industry, book owners, and also like special collections and rare books. And that was really interesting to me as a thriller kind of themed around those things. The third thriller that I have is Femlandia by Christine Doucher. She writes feminist dystopian action type thrillers. They are pacey, they are interesting, they touch on a lot of very contemporaneous political themes, and I really just enjoy her work. Her most famous book is called, oh it's on the cover, it's called Vox, and this is the idea that women's voices were restricted to only being able to say I think 150 words per day, and they have a little bracelet that electrifies them if they speak over their amount of words. And normally her books explore different oppressive regimes and touch a lot on gender politics, and I think based on the title of this alone, this is going to follow that theme and suit. So if you are interested in kind of dark, again dystopian feminist type thrillers, this is quite a niche, I appreciate, but it's so worth it, and I hope this is as good as the previous 2 books of hers that I've read. It isn't technically a thriller, but it is probably a classic horror, and this is a spectacular, it's a beautiful edition of Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. This was a copy that my other half got me, and I love this, and it's got a beautiful quotation on the back. This leather is super soft, like I don't think this is a copy I would take out the house or certainly lend to anyone. It's so silky, but it's beautiful. The quote that they've chosen for the back of this particular edition I think is gorgeous too, and it says, "My candle was nearly burnt out when by the glimmer of the half extinguished light I saw the dull yellow eye of the creature open." And Frankenstein is one of my favourite books. I remember reading this when I was quite young, and it certainly shaped how I viewed classics because I found this to be a much more accessible classic compared to some of the others that I had to read for school at the time. The final spooky thriller type book that I have is Hauntings by Neil Oliver. This is meant to be a non-fiction work investigating, I think, about 25 different tales of like the paranormal and unexplained things, and that is absolutely a bit of me. I will be saving this for spooky season, I think. Neil Oliver travels the British Isles on a spine-chilling tour that spans several centuries and explores vicarages, towers, shorelines, abandoned cemeteries, ancient battlefields to probe why our emotions and senses are heightened in certain locations and sites where the separation between dimensions seems gossamer thin. So I didn't realize this was specifically British as well. Like seems to be just stories and tales from across the United Kingdom, which is really cool. I just realised I have one more horror to go in that stack, and this is one I have seen doing the rounds on YouTube. It seems to have had a resurgence for whatever reason, and we love to see it. And this is Camilla by Sheridan Le Fanu, and I think that cover is gorgeous as well. Like if you were to buy a book for artwork alone, which I know we're not meant to do, but this, the sort of 2-sentence summary that I repeatedly hear other booktubers are saying is that 1, it's a prequel to Dracula, and 2, it is a sapphic vampire novel that explores female lust in addition to the monster concept of the vampire as well. So all of those things were like tick box, tick box, tick box, because I love a classic. I am really curious about the pre-Dracula influence and looking at that sort of literary heritage and seeing what perhaps Dracula borrowed or copied or was inspired by from this. And I also love a sapphic novel, and this isn't too long either. I know that some classics put people off because of the length of them, and that is totally understandable, but maybe this could be a classic for someone if you're new to classics, especially a bit like Frankenstein. This is even shorter. This is quoted as an original vampire story steeped in sexual tension and gothic romance. I'll read you a tiny bit of the blurb. It says, in a lonely castle deep in the forest, Laura leads a solitary life with only her ailing father for company, until one moonlit night a carriage arrives bearing an unexpected guest, the beautiful Camilla. So begins a feverish friendship between Laura and her mysterious companion, but as Camilla becomes increasingly strange and volatile, Laura finds herself tormented by nightmares and growing weaker by the day. That sounds fantastic, doesn't it? The next little stack that I've got here is more miscellaneous books, I would say, but I am excited to share them regardless. This particular book, my friend was very bad to buy me this because this is a really nice little hardback edition, and this is a literary fiction work called The Safekeep, and I believe again this is a sapphic. I don't know if you would count it as a romance. I think there's some sort of darker elements to this text. I've been really trying to avoid people talking about it or reviews of it because I do think it would be a bit of me. My best friend read it and just said, this is absolutely you, and I was like, fine, I will read it, because sometimes when a book is really overhyped, it then pushes me away from wanting to read it. And now that I have this absolutely gorgeous hardback edition of it, look at these end papers, they look like Delft tiles. Oh, is this book set in Amsterdam, or is it set in the Netherlands? Because then that would make sense, wouldn't it, creatively? Oh, one of the quotes from the blurb says, "The Safekeep is thrilling, a riveting historical reconciliation and an impossible yet inevitable love story, superbly wrought, serious, elegant, sexy and devastating." Oh my goodness, that is a gorgeous review of it as well. Look at that, I can't wait. The next book is one I have wanted for such a long time. So I couldn't find a copy of this years ago, and it was a book that I'd read at university. I was doing a module in advanced fantasy literature, and as part of that module, one of the texts that you study is Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, Annotated Alice. And this is a book that has the original story of Alice within it, but then alongside it, it has all the annotations that explain what Lewis Carroll meant with his writing. He had a very wide spanning knowledge and area of sort of interests and academic skills. So not only was he a phenomenal writer and creator of nonsensical verse, he was an established academic and mathematician. He dabbled in photography and the sciences, and he wove all the intersections of his interests throughout this text. So the footnotes and the annotations within this explain some of the real minutiae and the details and these little clues and puzzles that he put into the work. Like, there are a lot of mathematical references within Alice in Wonderland, which I don't think people will necessarily be aware of, and I certainly wasn't until I was studying this at an advanced level as part of the final year of my first degree. So this is such a rewarding and revealing text, and it also covers Alice through the Looking Glass too. So you can see this is the original novel, and these are all the deeper analysis, and oh, it's just fascinating. The next book might seem a bit strange, but it is Harry Potter, A History of Magic. I am a Harry Potter fan, I'm sure a lot of us are. This was an exhibition that was held at the British Library, and I missed it when it was on. And the exhibition was kind of an exploration of the magical world, but also how different aspects of the history of magic and also sort of occultism and mysticism and lots of different like mythologies. So it's got things in here like, here's what an actually original Bezoar stone would do, and here's what's even a chapter on herbology, so the subjects that the students would study at Hogwarts. Oh, Defense Against the Dark Arts. Oh my god, I bet that chapter's going to be fascinating. Just beautiful. It's really gorgeous. And the British Library also pulled out some of their own accompanying pieces and manuscripts and spells and things that they had in their own archives and special collections units. So I think this is going to be a delight. I cannot wait. Another illustrated type book that I was given is the Illustrated Brontes. This is a hardback and it's gorgeous. It almost feels like fabric, this cover design is. It kind of also covers a lighter sort of history of them through the particular letters and the items that they've chosen in this collection, probably isn't the right word, but in this anthology perhaps. And it's gorgeous. It's got some images and things that I haven't seen before to do with the sisters. This is really interesting to a Bronte fan like me, and I cannot wait to pick this up. Look at this gorgeous image. Next, from my parents, I have some Jane Austen themed gifts. I live relatively near this museum. It's one of my favourites, and my mum popped by there because she knew there was a particular book that I was interested in, and that was my main present. If you like any of the books that you've seen so far, please do try and grab a copy of them secondhand or via your local independent bookshop. I'm really trying to be more mindful about not shopping on sites like Amazon for personal reasons, and I know that you probably don't live in proximity to a museum, but this book is also available on the Jane Austen House website too, and a lot of the authors that you probably love have their own websites, and you can order these books through those websites too. So this is just a very gentle nudge to be a tiny bit more responsible with your book buying, like I am trying to be. This book is gorgeous. It's called A Jane Austen Year. This is a Jane Austen book that is full of the most gorgeous full colour images and text, and the blurb for this says it charts the life, novels and legacy of one of the world's most beloved authors, offering a seasonal guide to the Jane Austen house, the enchanting Hampshire cottage where her genius flourished. I've grown up going to this museum. It's very important to my own academic background, and I am so excited to support them. I bought this, or no, my mother bought this for me directly from them as well, and it always helps when it goes directly to the museum rather than to Amazon. Just flipping through it, this book makes me so happy. There's so many just gorgeous images and so much to do with Austen. I can't wait. Whilst we are on the Jane Austen subject, I will show you some of the other Jane Austen themed gifts that I was given. At the Jane Austen Museum in Hampshire, they had uncovered, when they were doing restoration work, some of the original wallpapers in her home, and they are believed to have been the wallpapers that Jane and her family would have picked for the house, which is a wonderful discovery. These have also been preserved and reproduced, and a lot of the branding that the museum now uses incorporates the artwork and design, especially like for notebooks and stationery, and even little Jane Austen themed biscuits here. So if you see these designs, these are based on the actual artwork that would have been in her house. And these are apparently Captain Wentworth's oat and honey biscuits, and that's a sweet little treat that I will enjoy later in the year. I was also very kindly given this gorgeous Jane Austen Christmas tree ornament, and it's the house itself and the museum. Oh, if that's gonna focus. Set in winter, and it's just snowing, and it's all kind of painted or stamped on a wood bauble, and that is lovely. Parents also got me a truffle pasta sauce, as they know that I'm a bit of a truffle whore, entirely not related to the book haul. Finally, I received 5 poetry anthologies, which I am delighted with. The first one is The Funny Side. This was from my aunt, 101 humorous poems. A lot of the poetry that I like to read is pretty emo and depressing, lots of dark and depressing subject matters, and I really appreciate this. I also love Wendy Cope. She's one of my favourite poets, and it would be nice to read poetry that celebrates perhaps a lighter subject matter than some of the heavier, more distressing things that I generally like to read. Next, we have an anthology of the romantic poets. This is a really nice little hardback copy. I believe this covers the big five, Blake, Byron, Coleridge, Keats, Shelley. I don't know if there's any women writers in here. This is what it says on the tin. It's a handful of, or a selection of poetry and writings by each of them. And this would be nice to have. I don't think I have an anthology that's just small and something I can carry around with me or take away if I'm on holiday or something. You can tell I really love the period of romanticism. So I previously mentioned that Wendy Cope is one of my favourite poets, and I have seen this anthology of hers going around the internet quite a bit, and I didn't realise that it's not a new collection of hers. I thought this was a new anthology that she was releasing, but I think it's more like a kind of greatest hits of hers, because I had a quick flick through and I could see like 3 or 4 of her most famous poems were actually in this, and they come from like Serious Concerns and Cocoa for Kingsley Amis and things like that. So I'm really delighted to read this because this is a gorgeous little edition. Like, it's a sweet little hardback. It's just not what I was expecting it to be, and if that's you as well and you're a fan of her, this is probably a really great in to her poetry, because I think this will be some of her best pieces kind of in a little work like this. From my Nana, this is Poems of the Sea, and it says that this is a rich celebration of crashing waves, rugged coastlines, seafaring people, of ships and boats, and the joy of a day at the seaside. From traditional sea shanties to the powerful poetry of Tennyson and nonsense rhymes like Lear, this exhilarating collection captures the timeless allure of being at sea. The end papers also reflect the waves. I don't know if you can see that. I think that's a really gorgeous little detail. But this book is packed, like absolutely packed. The text is quite small, but it's absolutely full. I don't know if you can see from here, of like every single nook and cranny is full. Like, there's no dead space here. Like I said, we studied this as part of my first, second year early creative writing modules, because I did a minor in creative writing alongside English literature, and this introduced me to people like Wendy Cope, who I wasn't taught at A level or at school. It introduced me to James Fenton, who I've had a almost lifelong love affair with. He's one of my absolute favourites, and there are so many authors in here or poets in here now that I look back on and I go, holy crap, that's probably the first time I ever read their work, and then I went off down a little rabbit hole about them. So as you can imagine, I am really delighted to have a copy of this and to go back and sort of nostalgically reread a lot of these this summer. Next, we have a few literary themed gifts that I'm going to quickly share with you, and then I will let you get on with your day. We have it's a card, but I'm going to treat it like a gorgeous print, which is what it is, and it's a very famous quote from Romeo and Juliet, Act 2, Scene 2, and I will just share it with you there. Next, I was given a very essential gift for marking up books and things like that, and there are some really cute little sticky tabs. They look like little mini post-it notes, but I think they're translucent, and this will be great for adding. It says for notebooks and journals. Final literary themed gift is this gorgeous jigsaw. If you've watched any of my other previous like Christmas present type haul things, you know I bloody love a jigsaw, and this one is sublime. This is the Bronte's world. It's also got the characters in it. It says over 50 characters to find.
Hello, this is Editing Charlotte, just hopping on to show you 2 further books that I received at the time of editing this video. The first one is the Graveyard book by Neil Gaiman. This has been one that I've wanted to read for a very long time. I understand that it's kind of spooky and paranormal. I believe this is about a young boy being raised within a graveyard by either ghosts or sort of paranormal entities. I also loved this particular edition because the illustrator is Chris Liddell, and his artwork, from what I've briefly seen of it, really reminded me of another artist that I really love, and that's Tony DiTerlizzi, and he was the artist and illustrator for the Spiderwick Chronicles, which were a series of books that I loved as a kid, and I saw the illustrations in this and thought those look incredible and very similar, so it made me also doubly want to pick up this book. The second book is about Jane Austen. It was gifted to me by my sister-in-law, and it's Jane Austen's life told in a number of objects that relate to her history, but also the sort of Regency, early Victorian period, and it's fascinating. I've already had a quick flick through of this, and I think this would be really nice for a Jane Austen fan who wants something that's a little bit of a lighter read, or a little bit of a lighter introduction to Austen, but also to this particular period of literary history. And it's also gorgeously curated too. There's some really beautiful images and illustrations, and it's a very sweet little book.
That is all the literary and bookish themed gifts that I received. This is also the end of the book haul itself. Thank you so much for watching. If you have read any of the books on my list, please do let me know, and also what your thoughts were. I would love to talk about them with you. As you can also tell, I've been thoroughly spoiled, and I am so grateful to my family and friends in my life who buy me the very things that make me the absolute happiest. And please do like, comment and subscribe. It really helps my channel, and it also lets me know if you like particular types of content. Leave me comments below if you have a particular type or style of video that you would like me to create for you this summer. I've got a little bit of time off, and I should be able to squeeze in a couple of videos to keep my channel ticking over.